Good morning, fellow Ambazonians and fellow tele-viewers. My name is Capo Daniel. I am the Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Defense Forces and the spokesperson of the Ambazonian Governing Council, one of the main organizations, the biggest organization of Ambazonian liberation movement that are engaged in the war for Ambazonian right to self-determination, to determine for ourselves the future and outlook of our territory, to fight for human dignity, the rights of the people of the Ambaz Bay. You are all welcome. Today is the third day of this new year, the year 2023, and you're all welcome to this first presentation that I'm doing as this person. I'm going to give a response of the Governing Council to the speech made by the President of La République du Cameroon, the current colonizer of Ambazonia, a case of black-on-black colonialism. Ladies and gentlemen, you have watched the video footage of one of the senior citizens in Ambazonia who is singing our national anthem using her dialect to talk about Ambazonian nationalism. She cannot even pronounce the word Ambazonia properly. Our movement fight for indigenous people such as her, who in their own existence, they feel the denial of their dignity by foreign government, the government of Cameroon, that seek to impose herself on our land, impose her way of life, her language on our land, who seeks to dismiss our history and dismiss our rights to our sovereignty and our human dignity. Thousands of Ambazonia have been living under the occupation of Cameroon without any rights to express themselves, without any dignity to govern themselves, to make decisions for themselves, and today they cannot take it anymore. And across our national territory, our people are observing a Monday ghost town, which is their only way to say that they don't want any union with La République du Cameroon. A conspiracy that tied our country to Cameroon and took away our rights to determine our future for an independent state. Our people are fighting today to reclaim that right. And that march is going on unabatedly. The right to our identity, the rights to what defines us as human beings, is at the core of our liberation struggle. As I today react on behalf of the Ambazonian Governing Council to the speech made by President Paul Biya of Cameroon, I want you to have in mind the millions of Ambazonian people across the national territory who cannot speak freely because of the fear of Cameroon terrorism. So let's listen to part of this speech being made by the President of La République du Cameroon, and I'm going to present to you the reaction coming from the constituted body of the Ambazonian Governing Council. And this speech have been expected. For the past 5 years, we have been fighting and resisting Cameroon occupation. The entire war have been expecting that somehow President Paul Biya will use this opportunity of his end-of-year speech to capture the moment in history where the Cameroon state realizes that the war option is not an attainable solution to end the impasse between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. Paul Biya have missed this opportunity, and we are going to come with our reaction. And I also want to inform our public and the Ambazonian citizens at home and abroad that the leader of our war of liberation, the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Lucas Ayaba, will be responding to President Paul Biya's message tomorrow. That will mean on the 4th of January, an official response will be coming from the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council. So what I'm going to do today as a spokesperson will be a reaction to the speech that will capture the Governing Council positions vis-a-vis what President Paul Biya of Cameroon have said in his end-of-year message. So let's have an excerpt, and we are going to go straight into that presentation. So we'll have our technical staff to play an excerpt of the video of Paul Biya's end-of-year speech, the end-of-year speech that would air in CRTV and all their medium of communication on the 31st of December 2022. Let us have that video.
De ces ouvrages va s'étendre à d'autres localités urbaines et rurales au courant de l'année prochaine. Mes chers compatriotes, malgré la conjoncture défavorable, le gouvernement maintient ses efforts pour assurer sa mission première, à savoir améliorer les conditions de vie des citoyens. Nous devons poursuivre les réformes structurelles engagées. Dans le cadre de ces ouvrages va s'étendre à d'autres localités urbaines et rurales au courant de l'année prochaine. Mes chers compatriotes, malgré la conjoncture.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had been expecting, due to our international engagement with the state of, that this year Paul Biya will seize the opportunity that we have presented to him in the corridors of international diplomacy, in direct diplomatic engagement with the state of Cameroon and our international partners and big stakeholders in the United Nations, stemming from the last General Assembly of the United Nations, where Antonio Guterres sat down with representative of the state of Cameroon, Minister Mr. Mbela, and transmits to him the concern of the international community that calls for President Paul Biya of the state of Cameroon to go to the negotiation table because he cannot win this war of subjugation and because of the humanitarian crisis, to meet Ambazonia and resolve this conflict through dialogue and through negotiation. President Paul Biya have led a delegation, have authorized a delegation that have engaged in effort with the main blocks of the Ambazonian liberation movement to have a pathway for peaceful resolution of this crisis. We have been expecting that the end of year speech of President Paul Biya will make mention of this effort, will create an environment that is going to put an end to the hate speech that we see from La République du Cameroun media, with their sitting governors calling our people cockroaches. We are deeply disappointed that just an excerpt of his speech, where he camouflaged the presentation of this negotiation and dialogue as a pathway for justice and peace, he camouflaged it within the context of the Ukrainian war, and in the 6th paragraph of his speech, he mentioned, I'll read the whole paragraph. I am prompted by the dire consequences of the war on the economies of countries, particularly developing countries, and the suffering inflicted on innocent civilian population, to reaffirm the importance of peace and dialogue in conflict resolution. We have been made to understand that the state of Cameroon is citing this part of his speech, where he says that he reaffirms the importance of peace and dialogue in conflict resolution, meaning a reference to the international engagement that the state of Cameroon have had with Ambazonia in the corridors of international diplomacy. This speech falls short of our expectation. This speech is a betrayal of the trust and the time that the international community have given Biya to address this problem in a meaningful way, and it's time for the world to see the reality of what we have been dealing with. Paul Biya cannot camouflage international effort after having declared war on the people of Ambazonia. During the past month, while we engaged with La République du Cameroun to negotiate and create a path for peaceful resolution of this war in an internationally mediated negotiation process, where Cameroon Paul Biya, through his delegates, have acknowledged what we all know, what the Americans have asked Cameroon, what the British, what the French, and the international community, the Germans, have asked Cameroon, to go to the negotiation table and stop and abandon the use of military force to resolve a conflict that could be resolved on the negotiation table. Paul Biya have failed to seize the opportunity that we have offered him, that the international community have offered him, to have a say in how this conflict ends. The people of Ambazonia and the Ambazonian Governing Council, we did not expect Paul Biya to come and wave the white flag of surrender. Neither did we expect President Paul Biya to suddenly declare an end to the occupation. We expect the President of La République du Cameroon to honor his words, to honor the delegate he have authorized, to honor the Prime Minister of his country, which he has authorized to engage in meaningful talks in order to set up a negotiation process that is fair, that is guaranteed by international law, so that justice according to the international law shall prevail, and justice and peace shall return to the people of Cameroon and the people of Ambazonia who are suffering from this crisis. This war is a direct responsibility of Paul Biya. Paul Biya, we do not expect him to say that he has come to a military impasse. We do not expect Paul Biya to admit the reality on the ground, but we expect Paul Biya, for the sake of the humanitarian crisis, that as a direct result of his authorization of the use of force to fight against people like the senior citizens we have shown you, and the millions of Ambazonians who have risen up to demand for the right of self-determination, for separation and for independence. Paul Biya, who have demonstrated through this current international engagement that he is the sole person in that country responsible for the deployment of troops, responsible for the movement of troops on the ground, on the battlefield, that he, the one who is responsible for the conduct of the Cameroon military, will do the right thing. Paul Biya have chosen the wrong path, have chosen death that affects his own citizens that have been sent into Ambazonia to fight an unwinnable war. I want to take you, ladies and gentlemen, to the statistics provided by UNOCHA, an organ of the United Nations, for our people and the people of the world to see the gravity of this humanitarian crisis that have come about as a result of Paul Biya's decision to use war against a peaceful people who are simply asking for their rights that are embedded and recognized internationally in the United Nations Charter. Let us have the chart of this year's statistics to show you the gravity of what we are facing on the ground. During December alone, Cameroon troops, under the order of Paul Biya, have burned 3 villages in Ambazonia and displaced a total of over 18,000 of our civilians in the great state of Bui, in Biya'S, and in Oko, where the Cameroon have burned down complete villages, attacking innocent civilians under the behest of Paul Biya. According to the United Nations statistics, I want our technical staff to bring the video of that statistics. According to the United Nations statistics, in Ambazonia alone, over 800,000 eternally people have been displaced from their residence. That means citizens who are unable to go back to their homes, who are living in the forests for the past 5 years. Over 700 or 800 of our citizens, according to United Nations own statistics, which are underreported. According to the United Nations own statistics, close to 200,000 registered Ambazonians are registered in Nigeria as refugees and asylum seekers, which are an underreporting of the crisis in itself. Houses have been burned, close to 600 villages completely burned to the ground by President Paul Biya. In every turn, he has failed militarily to stop our resistance. I want to get the statistic for the United Nations. Sorry, I'm trying to get our technician to bring up those statistics for our viewers to view the situation on the. We have a dire humanitarian crisis, and if Mr. Paul Biya had any sympathy, just a minute, please. Oops. I'm sorry, I'll have to download this statistic again. So I'm trying to transfer the statistics for our people to see. Our people, the people of Ambazonia, are dying in their thousands. We discover dead bodies on our streets and our farms every single day. For the past 5 years, the Cameroon military torturing our people so handedly, causing the death that have affected the livelihood of 3 million of our citizens. Over 3 million of our citizens in direct need of humanitarian aid. Over 2 million that were targeted, only less than 1 million have been provided with aid by the international community through the World Food Organization, the WHO, and other agencies on the ground. The humanitarian crisis is dire. Hospitals have been burned by the Cameroon military, some as a result of this conflict, and others have never been in existence. The Doctors Without Borders have been kicked out by the state of Cameroon that used to provide essential services to our people. And in the 21st century, our people have been pushed back decades ago in terms of our development. I think I want to get those statistics up there for our viewers to see. I want you to take a look so that you have a true image of the crimes of Paul Biya and the consequences of the war that Paul Biya have chosen on our people. And today, instead of choosing the pathway for negotiation, for a peaceful resolution, having accepted the limitation of his military strategy, having recognized what the world have repeatedly called Paul Biya to do, to abandon this war effort and choose diplomacy to resolve this crisis, Paul Biya today have again denied to seize the opportunity and turn to use war as a solution to subjugate our people and undermine their legitimate right. So these are the statistics. You can carefully see from the United Nations as of June this past year, over 3 million people, as I told you, are in direct need of humanitarian assistance. 1.6 million were targeted by the United Nations to provide assistance. Less than 1 million of them did receive assistance in our territory. You can look in the entire Cameroon region, including the territory of Ambazonia. Ambazonia alone have internally displaced people to close to 800,000. That is more than triple the amount of people in the northern part of Cameroon that have been displaced as a result of the fight against Boko Haram. You can look at the international response to the humanitarian crisis. The NGOs receive most of the money, the United Nations as well as the International Red Cross. Our forces and our organization on the ground have facilitated access to our people who live in the forest as a result of these crimes of Biya and the result of the war that Paul Biya have chosen. You have seen how the figures have gradually increased from 2017, have increased close to 1 million people who are internally displaced. This according to United Nations statistics, which are usually underreported. And further, you see how the situation have degenerated in our territory as compared to other parts in Africa. This is the most neglected crisis in the world. The international community have reacted. Its response has been through the UNDP, the British government, the Japanese government, the French government, the German government have all facilitated international response to this war by providing humanitarian assistance in terms of food and in terms of huge investment in terms of reconstruction. The reconstruction have failed, and our people have discarded some of those humanitarians' need. I want to show you videos from our IDP whose houses were burned by La République du Cameroon, and humanitarian gifts such as bed and mattresses was provided to them. Can we have the volume? They were all rejected.
Has carried mattress, carried it in and give you, say me go stay for bush. So we don't decide say me La Republic the stop for the deceive was civilians. Thank you now. Wow, so now that mattress than this. I believe say everybody could learn. Me this mattress they not stay for person in the house today. I beg any man where they don't give you any pieces, any
ladies
list
and gentlemen,
from.
We are calling on the international community that the international response to this humanitarian crisis that has been brought to our people by Paul Biya cannot be met by reconstruction efforts. It cannot be met by the provision of rice, the provision of mattresses to our people. Our people want their human dignity. We are resilient people that are known for their self-determination to survive. We work for ourselves. We have been working for ourselves. And what we are demanding for is our restoration of our independence, our dignity, where our women, our children will be able to go freely to their own school of their choice, educate themselves, and empower themselves with the resources that God has given us. We ask for nothing but the dignity, the same which the people in Ukraine they are asking for, the dignity to protect their sovereignty, the dignity to live in a land of their own, freedom and democracy, where we can freely exercise our God-given right to democratic values. Paul Biya have chosen to abandon, to ignore, and camouflage international effort where he has directly engaged himself in. Paul Biya is hiding behind his frailness, pretending because of his age that he is unable to face reality. Every effort by the international community to meet this old man, to have meaningful conversation about the crimes his troops are being committing in Ambazonia, he has used his frailness, himself as a con man, a man of no dignity at all, to hide behind his illness and his age, not to resolve the problem. Even when he delegates his prime minister, even when he delegates members of his own cabinet to engage in international diplomacy and accept to have a framework for negotiation, Paul Biya himself still disguise and camouflage this effort, afraid to pacify the environment and create an environment where our people can live their livelihood while we carry this war to the negotiation table. Paul Biya have in every turn have shown that the war cannot partner with him. He is a con man. He is a person with no dignity, a person that cannot be respected or expected to be respected. We know that he needs time. We know that the syndicate of drugs that his governors and generals have set up in Ambazonia to intoxicate our youth, frustrate them and promote chaos and kidnapping for ransom as a means to fight against our aspiration, he needs time for them to sanitize that environment to prepare for the eventuality of their departure. We know that his generals and governors who have created syndicates to bring in fuel from Nigeria, undermining even Cameroon businesses in Ambazonia by facilitating syndicates that transact fuel and stolen and pirated fuel from Nigeria to Ambazonia for their own personal benefit. We know that all these criminal syndicates that have been set up by Paul Biya's administrators in Ambazonia, they need time to sanitize the environment and prepare for the eventuality of the coming of daylight and negotiation where everything will be brought to this. We do not expect a miracle, but we expect at least Paul Biya to own up and man up to this reality that he cannot win Ambazonia. What we have seen the Cameroon government and Paul Biya doing in the international community, his speech is a charade, it's a disgrace. He seeks to project himself as a strong man, but internationally, Paul Biya is a weak and frail person whose military have had stalemate and are unable to defeat our forces on the ground. They are unable to dissociate our people using corruption to corrupt the soul of our people. Our people are resilient to demand for separation and independence as the only way to preserve their own dignity. President Paul Biya also make mention about the fight against corruption within his administration. We want to remind the Ambazonian people and the international community, in particularly our international partners, that money being invested in Paul Biya to sustain his economy as they crumble in the face of this war, spending billions to buy military equipment. Their economy is in free fall. Instead of Paul Biya coming to his mind and seek for a negotiated solution, money being offered to Cameroon in terms of loan for the IMF are all being sponsoring corruption and wastage within the regime. As Paul Biya promised to fight against corruption, I want to remind the international community that an operation to fight corruption launched by Paul Biya himself, called Operation Sparrowhawk, unveiled that over 44 billion CFR, that is 75 million US dollar, according to the publication they did as recent as this month, was uncovered to have been embezzled alone in November, 1 month alone, 75 million US dollar. So a country that mismanaged money like that, Paul Biya, the same administrator who mismanages money, are still in their place. The international community, the directors of the World Bank, have recently approved 100 million US dollar to sustain the economy of Cameroon. How can you be sponsoring the corruption and greed of individuals who are like vampires over their people? The Cameroon ministers have embezzled over 75% of funds provided to sustain that economy by the World Bank. It is time for the international community to stop feeding the monster of Africa, the oldest president of Africa, who is committing genocide, who seeks for a way out to sustain and prolong the war that his own vampires are benefiting from. It's time for the international community to rein in the World Bank and stop sponsoring this regime. It's time for the international community to bring the sticks to rein in this regime. It has been close to 4 years since Ambassador Peter of the United States of America called out Paul Biya for killing and carrying out targeted assassination and war crimes in Ambazonia. And I want to play part of the images that captures who Paul Biya is by his talks in his own media. There's an excerpt of a media presented by Brandy Kike that I want to play of Paul Biya's attitude to the international community.
Fini en octobre, et aucune loi au Cameroun n'interdit au président Biya de se représenter. Aucune loi. Donc, poser la question de savoir ce que le président doit faire, c'est réfléchir sur le sexe des anges. Parce que suffit-il qu'un prétendu ambassadeur des États-Unis vienne faire sa fanfaronnade comme il a fait devant au palais présidentiel pour que un pays s'emballe et que nous cherchons tous à entrer en bas du lit? Il y a quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a au Cameroun? Il y a quoi? L'ambassadeur américain, c'est qui? Qui est l'ambassadeur américain? C'est qui ce voyou? C'est qui? C'est qui? Le Cameroun est arrêté parce qu'un feignant comme ça a parlé. Un idiot qui ne connaît même pas la différence entre la diplomatie et les élémentaires de la diplomatie. C'est qui l'ambassadeur américain? C'est qui? Le débat n'est pas à ce niveau. On a parlé ça. Le débat, c'est le débat au niveau des Camerounais. Est-ce qu'ils sont dignes d'être appelés Camerounais? Vous avez une partie du Cameroun qui dit carrément qu'ils ne sont pas des Camerounais. Ils sont ambazoniens. C'est eux qui le disent. Et vous voulez nous obliger à les considérer comme des Camerounais. Et les traiter comme tels. Le débat, c'est de savoir, est-ce qu'on a une caste politique au Cameroun? Madame Vanessa, ce que vous appelez l'opposition au Cameroun, qu'est-ce qu'elle vaut? Le débat est de savoir, est-ce que vous avez une société civile? Le débat est de savoir, est-ce que nous qu'avons-nous compris des relations internationales, Madame Vanessa? Chaque fois que les États-Unis ont fait comme ça, dans tous les pays du monde, ne parlons même pas de la guerre froide en Amérique latine. Ils vont dire, ok, c'était la guerre froide, tous les points étaient permis, les Russes faisaient là-bas, nous on faisait ici. Depuis la fin de la guerre froide, chaque fois que ce que vous appelez les États-Unis, cette crimiocratie, c'est un État criminel. Chaque fois que ces criminels ont pointé leur nez dans un pays, il s'est passé quoi? C'est toi le pays, Madame Vanessa. La Somalie. Restons Hope.
Ladies and gentlemen,
la Somalie est où?
These are the people of the Bulu Beti clique that have taken hold of this poor African country. A country that publicly demonizes and dehumanizes Ambazonia. And they claim they cannot treat us as Cameroonians because we claim we are Ambazonians. For a political claim, Paul Biya choose to annihilate our population. For America to call for the respect of the right of life for our people. The Ambassador Peter, is labeled a criminal. And the political parties in La République du Cameroun are dismissed by Paul Biya as reflected by henchmen and his dogs such as this. A country that rejects opposition party, a country that rejects expression of rights. Remember that Ambazonia came into La République du Cameroun as two equal parties. A vote that the United States of America and the entire world took part in it. It is an international matter. Ambazonia is an integral part of the United Nations and an entity that have been recognized by international instruments. For our people to express their right, Paul Biya have made a deliberate decision to annihilate us and carry out genocide. His aggression against the Americans should be seen for who he is. All the lip service he plays to the international communities is only to buy time to kill Ambazonians and to get loans to sustain his economy. That must come to an end. The United States, the United Nations must come to the realization that Paul Biya cannot change, is not capable of changing on his own, and they must rein in where it hurts the most, which is the bank account of Paul Biya. The United States of America, Canada, France, Germany must stop the flow of money into Cameroon. Money that goes into private pockets and the people have nothing to show for. The United Nations and the international panel must stop the idea of reconciliation, of reconstruction as a means of resolving our problem. It has all failed. For the past 2 years, the activity of the UNDP have not shown any progress in bringing justice or peace to our people. Our people still continue to fight this regime and demand for nothing but the outright independence of our territory. I want to take our people, the international community, to Bamenda to show us the capital of our resistance. That despite the claim of Mr. Paul Biya, the people of Ambazonia, all throughout our territory, have stayed in home. Let's hear the audio.
Reporting live from the street of Bamenda, this wonderful ghost town here in Bamenda city. Small team. So they look down, take up on today. Today now, second for this great year 2023. You see the whole street there very locked down. Who the Amazonia live to fall no more.
So our people, the civil civilians have, by their own free will, stayed at home to observe the Monday ghost town, which is the only way left for them to express their aspiration and their will for separation and independence from Cameroon, to restore their pride, their human dignity, which have been stripped from them by the annexation and recolonization of the former British Southern Cameroon territory, which we call today Ambazonia. Our people, despite the use of fake messages, fake news, and propaganda by the Cameroon state, and the use of threat and manipulation of the media, our people know exactly what they want. Like the senior citizen, the old mother, who cannot speak proper English or even pronounce the word Ambazonia, but she knows in her heart what she wants. She wants freedom, just like the people of Ukraine. Listen to her. So we fight and give a voice to our people who are voiceless, who are being threatened by genocide, targeted killing, systematic killing by Paul Biya and his forces in Ambazonia. We speak for them, we fly their flag, and we are a constituted body by the people in Ground Zero and in the diaspora that speak for the voiceless and tell the international community that the people of Ambazonia deserve a return of their dignity, their human dignity, which they do no longer have. We have been forced by the brutal reaction of Paul Biya, who declared war upon our people and have massacred and affected the livelihood of over 3 million of our citizens, sending away close to 1 million in Nigeria as refugees, and internally displaced over 800,000 of our people. He still continues this brutal campaign of scorched earth while our people struggle and manage themselves to defend themselves. In the end of year speech of Paul Biya, he alluded to the fact that the United States of America have arrested 3 Ambazonians. According to Paul Biya, he is portraying this as the American government collaborating with his own government to fight against people who are fighting for Ambazonia. This is what I want to let our people know. Unlike the first case of Mangang, some Ambazonian citizens who were arrested in America for weapon trafficking, who were seeking to help and assist, according to the documents and what we see on social media, their own countrymen defend themselves in Ambazonia. These other crimes of Ambazonian, 3 Ambazonians who were arrested in Ambazonia, have everything to do with American domestic law and nothing to do with Ambazonia fight of self-determination. The prosecutor of America had the option to demand that the individuals that are concerned in all these cases be barred from participating to support Ambazonian resistance. They choose not to apply for that writ. This is to show the Ambazonian people and the international community and the Cameroonians who are watching me that the action by the United States of America is not in concert with Cameroon government and have nothing to do with any effort to stop Ambazonian resistance against Cameroon colonialism. As a matter of fact, as much as we sympathize with these our citizens, we have always condemned kidnapping for ransom and what appears to be like what has happened in this case. The American arrest of these 3 individuals instead is a favor for the Ambazonian people because, as the world know very well, we have a lot of bad characters within our liberation struggle who have been frustrated by the chaos of war and the brutality of La République du Cameroon to go to extents that are not acceptable. We condemn the actions of these 3 individuals, and we reiterate that this indictment have nothing to do with the indictment of our people's call for independence. The American government have called out Cameroon and have sanctioned Cameroon. This should send a clear message to Cameroon that the American government do not oppose Ambazonian right of self-determination. The United Nations and the organs of law in Africa have guaranteed that Ambazonians and testified that Ambazonians have the right of a people. This is our legitimate right. Our fight is legitimate, and the engagement in the international community by La République du Cameroon further shows that they know that our fight is a legitimate one. We call on all Ambazonians to rally themselves to intensify our liberation because we have no option. while we push the international community to do the right thing, not just to recognize our right as a people and to help us to defend our right, but for them to sanction Paul Biya, to cut off the purse that feeds the machine that brutalizes our people and seeks to carry out a genocide against our people. We will continue to do so in the diplomatic phase, and the president of the Governing Council will address our people directly and to the international community to respond to Paul Biya's loophole and camouflage to accept the reality on the ground. It took Bungaville and New Papua Guinea 10 years of fighting what was then known as the Bungasville crisis. Just like Ambazonia, for the past 5 years, they have been calling it the Ambazonian or the Anglophone crisis. It took Bungaville 10 years of trying with the military option to destroy the resistance in Bungaville for them to come back to the negotiation table and allow the people of Bungaville to determine their future through an election where they choose independence. Paul Biya don't need to wait 10 years. The Cameroon don't need to wait 10 years because as each day goes by, their sons and daughters who are sent to kill Ambazonians are coming back in body bag. Their economy is in free fall. We have seen recently in Douala youths rioting using machete to attack each other as the economy is in ruin. We have seen arson attacks within La République du Cameroon. It is not sustainable. That country is in a fall free. They don't need to wait 10 years because of a dying monster who cares less about the humanitarian crisis and focuses on his ego. We are also calling on the international community that for years, the French government have been advocating against the stigmatization or the embarrassment of Paul Biya and Cameroon. The French government that have been enabling Cameroon through diplomatic cover have enabled Paul Biya to continue waging this international war, these war crimes against Ambazonia with the cover of France diplomatically. The French government should realize that the dignity of Ambazonia, the life of Ambazonians are worth more than the ego of a dying dictator Paul Biya. The Americans, the Germans, the British, the Canadians, the Australians have to realize that the dignity of Ambazonian life is as worth as the dignity of the Ukrainian life that they are fighting to defend and to protect. The principles which we stand for, on which we demand for justice, are the same principles in international law, the rule-based system that the Ukrainians are benefiting from. The international community must treat us equally, black and white. They must stop the hypocrisy and take Paul Biya for who he is, a wicked old man who cares nothing about human life and will do everything to subjugate our people under his rule. The international community must stop pacifying and listening to the agenda of France and do the right thing. Stop Paul Biya. He is not capable of stopping himself. Help Ambazonia defend themselves. Help Ambazonia attain their dignity that they deserve. We will continue to fight. And that is our reaction to Paul Biya. We will now turn to our activity of our people as we intensify our liberation movement. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the great state of Momo, the Ambazonia Governing Council have heard the plight of our people. For the past 5 years, we have waged this war, sending away Cameroon occupation forces away from our territory. Over 80% of our territory have been liberated from Cameroon occupation. Cameroon do no longer have legitimacy to be in our country. We have kicked out over 80% of Cameroon administrators within our country. Those that they have appointed and made mayors, made senators are all living in exile. Traditional rulers who have been placed strategically to enable Cameroon gain a semblance of legitimacy in our territory are all living in Yaoundé. Our territory is firmly under our control. Cameroon have sought to use drugs to pollute our youths and promote kidnapping for ransom and promote bad actors within our liberation struggle. Today, the people of Bangui have heard their cry heard by the Ambazonian Defense Forces and the Governing Council. We are now expanding our base In Bangui, as you see, the Ambazonian flag and the Ambazonian governing flag, the ADF flag, is flying high in Bangui town. The former forces that were there, the restoration forces, have been a pain in the heart of our people. We have restored order. We are bringing back in our soldier, our commander in Momo, the overall commander in Momo, paid a visit there to meet the people and to give support to the new brigade that have been opened in Bangui. A lot of things have happened there. I want you to watch this video coming in from ground zero.
To defend our country, no pay all this arm that will fight our own mommy and party for quarter, no be so. I can't wait that today go make them as from today moon and no say Bangui people they wanna be covered. I believe say the mess of what they used to happen, I believe no will happen again. When it's Bangui. I believe they spend, I believe they go pass most of them away. See the way they make call I know they did plenty. But when it's never call moon and no call me, don't can't do it. Moon I tell them say Baba will enter 2023. Moon I tell them say bye bye. The old has gone, the new has. Oh. Now from the one you now say this 2023 no good day as 2022 today. That from the one you make with them. I days I'm being 24/7. And I will be on me and say if any soldier wrong any man, me no vex na me no hide for barbecue grum for back. You come ahead, we are issue. You try for correct your brother and they are picking, they are brother. All will never carry on for here. And any man get a part for ever play. Without we now will be nobody. Without we two will no day. So we no fit exist one no day. And no fit exist we two will no day. So the things will flow now equal. When I wrong you, you call me my brother. You don't mind my toe. I tell you the power, oh my oh sister, I'll be very sorry. Again, I want common enemy. When I laugh, we the Cameroon. Our focus now, boya. I know we get a lot of tell now. I believe say if I believe I don't get no to we have to pay una or have to give una for here. But the only thing what they promise say me I will give una, I will give una independent. Now independent. What have to give una?
Let's pause that video. So in that video, you have seen the overall commander of the ADF in Momo, who have visited the forces that have been installed in Bangui. He have reassured the population. And this is the reality on the ground. The AGOVC bringing stability, bringing law and order, and strengthening our community and fighting against the excesses, against Cameroon propaganda. Cameroon have been struggling to propagate that the ADF, the biggest force on the ground, have been committing abuses. But you can see our forces interacting with their population. Even when they shoot gun in the air, our population are not scared because they know they are there for them. They are talking about the previous forces that used to be there in the ARF and the type of atrocity that the people of Bangui had suffered. The days have gone. Those issues was as a result of our struggle being fragmented and Cameroon taking full advantage to use corruption, bribery and corruption to make sure that there is chaos in Bangui and many parts of Ambazonia. We have fight against kidnapping for ransom. We have returned power to the people. We have strengthened traditional institutions to maintain law and order and make sure our people can live in peace in liberated area, free from Cameroon administrators and Cameroon terrorist occupation forces. I want the video to go ahead so that you can see our interaction and what the population will say in return. Let's go ahead.
I know to don't wrong when I plenty, but when I forgive you for our wrongness. That's why we shit for food. You know, you cut food, the wife, the shit, you put our hand. No, be so.
Yeah, na mamidis. We are mamidis. We recover we from Ambazonia land. Now the magide this we don't buy them. Give them. Say me share them we mamid them. Me share them we people them we ide from Ambazonia land. We fight the fight. So the mamidis in them na maflo. Magide this way ADF don't jam under the leadership of big number under the leadership way na Colonel A2 General A2 way to control Momo or control Bangui Central Now they talk so now the thing that this way, the beginning, they don't can jam for the people then. Say all we will do together, we will work together for love and peace and unity.
At the worker, I want to what you do. I see machine that they come upside down. Me too at the dress, they make machine too fast for your own side. Me too apart for my own side. Why the break say, yep, now you would find out. The big man say, they can't tell you. Not to have to do now, what not be only for the same claim for ya. Only for client on machine start go. I get for do it again. No way. I go. I read it. No, we read. I know they say transport. Where they can't find you, you will jam. I jam. They say by driving, bam. You go there. But the thing where we read it, they told me say they don't belong you because you don't do no nothing. But I say, make the bring cow because you know what support this. It matter. I say with the support. He said you support now for village, but not before hill. You say me I support for hill. See, when I call my woman, he hang cow for day before me I pay go.
Yeah, but I not talk say I call that talk. Me where the talk so. Nigeria A2 the talk. Grandpa for Bengi. I don't ever ask cow for either one.
No.
I don't ever ask one Jaga attack.
No.
They repair outside, no?
You never ask them.
They repair outside for Ambazonia, no?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, but I never ask them for one, no?
Yes.
So, Pa, this talk where you talk so, I like the talk where you talk. Me, you one of the founder where they work inside Ambazonia. They support, Ambazonia support. If I hear say they can't tell you, God might treat you, go treat you. Me, I not be happy. This score way don't see for you so. Now ADF, me I be ADF. A2 way they talk so that ADF they talk so. I be ADF. Now ADF train me for training center for Nigeria. You know say I go training center for Nigeria or you know?
You don't go, and I even have to support you for go.
You support me, no pa?
Yes.
Now me this I see they out for your back for support una for saying me all man they fine. And then man as from today where they talk so, and then man we a fuck up again for the land. Even I hear say we don't kill some soldier for here. Me and them man not blame me. Some man go blame me. Some man go blame me for the thing where they can't do them for here.
No.
They become for here the big people for market take fund them, take fish them, take guarantee them. It be fine or not fine. It be fine or not fine. So if I do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when I hear the reality on the ground, that part they talk how way some ARF they become carry, then go talk, even though you don't do anything, they talk say must pay money, me buy gin, do and all. Then holy, these are the problems we have always been facing in ground zero. So we have always seen that La Republic will try to pin this on the major force that is stabilizing ground zero in order to promote those things and let them be a counterproductive result with Ambazonia. But the egg of C have been on the ground. Our soldiers are professionals. Like you can hear, A4 is telling you he has never demanded those type of excess taxes from our people and those things that we have seen from other forces. So we try to moderate. We try to advise even the other forces and the other organizations to take such responsible actions because those excesses will turn our population to be in disarray and confused. So that is the reality on the ground, and that is the conduct of the Ambazonia Governing Council. We will continue to urge the people of Meta to reach out and support their own to make sure we build our strong defenses and fill the gap. As we kick out Cameroon, the Ambazonian Transitional Liberation Authority takes control and administer our territory with law and order in accordance with our traditional laws. So please reach out to support our people. And tomorrow we will be looking forward to the big speech that will be made by the President of the Ambazonian Governing Council that will address and respond directly to President Paul Biya and the international community for his speech. This is meant to be a reaction so that our people can have detailed analysis of how we view the content of what Paul Biya, the President of Cameroon, have said. Like what we have said again, Cameroon have failed to take opportunity of ongoing international engagement that is supposed to end this war and bring a peaceful path where we can obtain justice for our people and they can obtain justice for their country so that we can live in peace as good neighbors and the war and the suffering should end. Cameroon have failed to take this opportunity. Paul Biya have continued to camouflage international engagement while he pretends to look strong in front of his people. The fact of the matter is that he knows that he cannot win this war. He's on an unwinnable path. He's been driven by ego and greed from his Bulu Beti hawks in Yaoundé who do not allow him to do the right thing. And we want to reassure that Paul Biya is personally responsible, despite the fact that he continually hides when it comes to international engagement, that he is sick, he is weak, and he delegates power here and there and tries to come back to play games. But he is responsible. Through our engagement with the Cameroon state, we can testify to that Paul Biya is 100% in control of his troops. He's 100% control of the sovereignty of Cameroon, and decision making is all in his hand. It is up to him if he wants negotiation or not. Previously, the Cameroon state have made excuses that Ambazonia are too fragmented, that the Cameroon state not engage or have a partner to engage with. The Ambazonian Governing Council, with a block of other Ambazonian nationalists and liberation movement, have come together and properly presented our state interest and our state position to the international community and in indirect engagement with the state of Cameroon. And Paul Biya cannot make that same claim again. And the international community should not buy these excuses of somebody who is bent to commit murder, targeted killing, assassination, burning down of homes of civilians. And today, as we sympathize with the American football player who collapsed on the field, we see how America value life. We want to remind the international community that they too have a stake in Ambazonia, and they too have an obligation to the United Nations Charter that they take part in the mortgaging of our right of self-determination to France and to La République du Cameroon, and they can fix it. We are peace-loving people. We are people who have always chosen the negotiation as a pathway to get out of this nightmare, but we will defend ourselves when attacked and will continue to fight Cameroon. We will cripple Cameroon economy. We will bring hell to the Gulf of Guinea until we have what we want, because we deserve what we want. Our people deserve to live in peace and in dignity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and see you subsequently.
Last Monday, in something that has become way too often in our land, the people of Ambazonia were once again reminded of the absolute horror under which we live in the land of our birth. Lives were taken senselessly in brutish fashion by an army of occupation that view our people as lambs to be slaughtered. Of course, they view us as lambs because for more than 56 years, they have brought horror and terror to our land and been able to go back to their homeland with praise and the loot they have stolen from our people. Enough. Enough. The right to self-defense is as instinctive to a human being as the air we breathe. No people, no nation can unilaterally disarm, especially in the face of an occupation whose brutality and impunity causes the streets of our towns and villages to be soaked with the blood of innocents. In a moment, I will be signing an order authorizing the Ambazonian Defense Force to begin the great and noble task of protecting our defenseless people and freeing our land from this long nightmare that is our occupation by La République du Cameroon. In doing this, let me paraphrase. In doing this, we declare our right on this earth to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to secure the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring using every means at our disposal. May God bless our men and women now on the march in the field. May He bless our land, Ambazonia. Thank you.
Good morning, fellow televiewers on the ACN television network. Welcome to another episode of the No Pony Talk Show. In the making, history made already. This is a show where we would talk the people's language for Biafra and the people's language for Ambazonia, the Pidgin English. And I'm me, Capo Daniel, una host. So I'll play this music and welcome everybody. And we'll go straight into this topic today, which is very, very important and very, very critical.